In a forgotten village at the edge of a vast forest, there lived an old man named Bako. He was once a man full of life, with a wife and a son, but time had taken everything from him. His wife passed away, and his only son, in search of fortune, never returned. Now, Bako lived in silence. The villagers barely noticed him, treating him like a ghost. He spent his days tending a small garden and gazing at the distant mountains, as if waiting for someone who would never come back. One harsh winter evening, as Bako trudged through the snow to gather firewood, he heard a faint, painful cry. It was weak, almost swallowed by the wind. Following the sound, he found a white wolf, its golden eyes filled with pain, its leg caught in a hunter's cruel trap. The wolf struggled but was too weak to free itself. Bako knew what the villagers would say: "Leave it. Wolves are dangerous." But as he looked into the creature's eyes, he saw something more: loneliness, just like his own. Ignoring fear, Bako knelt and spoke softly. "I will help you." The wolf did not bite. Slowly, carefully, Bako pried open the trap, his hands shaking with effort. The moment it was free, the wolf collapsed into the snow. It could not run. It had no strength left. For reasons even he didn't understand, Bako lifted the wolf into his arms and carried it home. For weeks, Bako nursed the wolf back to health. He fed it warm broth, cleaned its wound, and spoke to it, even though he knew it would not understand. At first, the wolf was wary, watching Bako with guarded eyes. But slowly it began to trust him. It would sit by the fire, its golden eyes reflecting the flames, and listen as Bako spoke about his past, the love he had lost, the loneliness that clung to him like a shadow. "I thought I would spend my last days in silence," he admitted one night. "But now, at least I have someone to talk to, even if you cannot speak back." He named the wolf Kuma. Kuma followed him everywhere, to the river, to the fields, even to the village. The people did not approve. The village elders called Bako a fool. "A wolf is a wild beast, not a friend," they warned. "One day it will turn on you." But Bako only smiled and said, "A heart that knows kindness never forgets." They mocked him. Some threw stones to scare Kuma away. They feared what they did not understand. But Kuma never left. He stayed by Bako's side, silent and watchful. One summer morning, Bako awoke to Kuma pulling at his sleeve. The wolf's golden eyes were urgent, insistent. "Do you want me to follow you?" Bako asked. Kuma nodded. For hours, they journeyed deep into the unknown parts of the forest. Bako had never ventured this far. The trees here were ancient, their roots twisted with age. Finally, Kuma stopped before a narrow opening between two massive boulders. Hesitant, Bako stepped through and gasped. Before him stretched a hidden valley, untouched by human hands. Wild fruit trees overflowed with golden mangoes, ripe figs, and plump berries. A clear spring ran through the valley, its waters sparkling like liquid silver. It was as if paradise had been hidden away, just for him. Tears filled Bako's eyes. For the first time in decades, hope bloomed in his heart. From that day, Bako harvested the fruits and bottled the pure water. He took them to the village market, selling them for a small fortune. Within months, he was no longer a poor old man. But happiness, as always, attracts envy. The villagers noticed. "How does a lonely old man suddenly have so much wealth?" they whispered. The elders became suspicious. One night, a group of jealous villagers followed Bako into the forest. They hid in the shadows, watching as Kuma led him through the secret passage. Their eyes widened at the sight of the hidden paradise. "He's been keeping this from us," they hissed. That night, the elders gathered in secret. "We must take the valley for ourselves. The old man does not deserve such riches." And so, the betrayal began. One evening, as Bako sat outside his home, a group of villagers approached him. Their faces were friendly. Too friendly. "Come, Bako," they said. "The elders wish to honor you." Bako, touched by the sudden kindness, followed them. But as he reached the village square, he saw the trap. The elders stood in a circle. His hands were grabbed, his feet tied. "You have been hiding something from us," they accused. "Tell us where your wealth comes from." Bako's heart sank. But before he could speak, A piercing howl shattered the night. Kuma had arrived. The wolf snarled, standing between Bako and the villagers. His golden eyes blazed with fury. "Stand back," someone shouted. "It's just a beast." A man raised a spear. Bako screamed. But Kuma did not run. He did not flinch. Instead, he leaped, straight at the spear. The blade pierced his side. The wolf had taken the blow meant for his master. Bako collapsed to his knees, cradling Kuma as blood stained the earth. "No," Bako whispered. "You were supposed to live." The villagers stared in shock. They had thought the wolf was dangerous. But now they saw the truth. Kuma had been more human than they had ever been. Bako sat in silence, his heart shattered. Kuma's golden eyes softened. With the last of his strength, Kuma shook his hand. "You are alive, my friend," the old man whispered. The final winter. Years passed, and the seasons changed, but one thing never changed: Bako and Kuma were always together. But time was not kind to old men. Bako grew weaker, slower. He no longer walked as far, no longer tended to his garden. One cold evening, as the first snow fell, Bako sat by the fire and sighed. "Kuma, I think I am tired," he whispered. Kuma, as always, listened in silence. Bako closed his eyes and never woke up again. For 2 days, Kuma lay beside him, refusing to move. He did not eat, did not drink. When the villagers came, they gasped at the sight. The old man was gone, and the wolf refused to leave his side. But Kuma did not attack. He did not snarl. Instead, he let out a sound that no one had ever heard before, a deep, sorrowful howl that echoed through the village, carrying his grief into the wind. That night, Kuma walked to the mountains, to the place where Bako used to gaze at the stars. He sat there looking at the sky, waiting for the man who would never return. Days passed, then weeks. The villagers left food, but Kuma never touched it. And one morning, when the sun rose over the snowy peaks, Kuma lay still, his golden eyes closed for the last time. He had kept his promise. Until his last breath. The lesson of a lifetime. The villagers buried them together, side by side. And from that day forward, no one in the village ever spoke ill of the bond between man and beast. For in the loyalty of a wolf, they had learned the greatest lesson of all. Love, once given, never fades. And true friends never leave, not even in death.